every decision needs to be the perfectly right decision. And if we go this way, then that means we're stuck in that way. Right now in this season, I don't have the energy and capacity to do it all right now. Pausing and pumping the brakes on something doesn't mean it's a loss. It means you're creating space for the things that you do really want to be prioritizing. That decision isn't locked in stone. Just because you're not prioritizing this thing right now doesn't mean that it isn't going to be a part of your life, and doesn't mean that you can't prioritize that thing later in your life. With every season and every chapter, this changes. What's most important to you in this current season, in this current chapter? So I was asked the question recently, how do we know what to prioritize and how to spend our time if there's so many different things that we want to be doing? Like maybe we want to be doing it all, but we don't have the time and capacity and energy to realistically do it all. How do we know what to do? How can we prioritize our time and our energy? And this got me to thinking, and I wanted to do a whole episode on it because I talk a lot on here about not knowing what you want to do, right? Not knowing how you want to spend your time, and also maybe what feels misaligned. But I don't feel that I've specifically talked about, if there's all these different things that you want to be doing, how to truly prioritize our time and energy. Because the reality is, unfortunately, we can't do it all. We only have so much capacity and time, especially free time, right? If we have a 9 to 5 or a job that takes up a lot of our time. How can we prioritize that time and space and energy that we have freedom and control over? How can we assure that the ways that we're spending our time are truly aligned with what we need and value in this season that we're in? That is what we're going to talk about in today's episode, because this is something that I've definitely personally navigated, and it's looked different in every season of life. And this is also a big thing that I help my clients with as well. So I'm excited to bring this to you in this episode today. And before we dive in, if you are new here, welcome to Fulfilled. My name is Camille and I'm your host, and I'm so grateful that this show and this episode found you today. Trust that this message found you for a reason. And if it did, take this moment to press follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. This will give you access to episodes every single Monday and Thursday when I release them. Every single episode is here to help you create a life that is intentional, aligned, and fulfilling to you. So be sure to press follow to never miss an episode. And if you are returning, 2 quick ways you can help send Fulfilled and me some love today is to send this to someone in your life who you love, who might really resonate with the show or the specific message, and leave a rating or comment wherever you are listening or watching. All of this means the world to me, and I'm so grateful that you all clicked on this message and that you're taking this time and space for you today. So let's dive in. Let's talk about how to prioritize what we really want, and how to know what to spend our time and energy on if there's a million things pulling us in a million different directions. But first, let's talk about some of the blocks, right? Let's talk about some of the things getting in the way of us being able to really prioritize our time and energy. First one, as I mentioned, is just our capacity overall, right? We only have so much time in the day, in the week, in our lives, and so much energy that we're able to show up with. And what that means is there's always an opportunity cost, right? No matter how we choose to spend our time and energy, there's something that we're sacrificing and foregoing, right? It's this topic that I at least learned back in economics, back in college, where in every decision we make, there's something that we sacrifice, right? So a couple examples, you decide to go out tonight with friends. Yeah, you sacrifice maybe getting a really good night's sleep and filling your cup in solitude, or vice versa. Maybe you stay in solitude and forego the memories that you make with your friends. Maybe it's eating in versus going out to eat. Maybe it's booking the trip or saving money and staying home. Maybe it's leaning into inner growth and solitude, or social connections and new experiences and putting yourself out there. Maybe it's taking the day off work to fill your cup, or maybe it's leaning into work to really take steps and get ahead and create. So that's, of course, the biggest block, right? It's like we can't do it all, especially do it all at once, which is why this topic is so important to talk about and necessary, right? Like, how then can we prioritize what we really value and assure that the decisions that we're making is aligned with the life that we want to be living? But this leads me to the next thing that gets in the way, right? The next kind of mindset block that I think a lot of us struggle with, and this comes up a lot in my coaching sessions as well. We can often see the world as black and white, as right or wrong, as, one way or the highway. But life is in the gray. Life is not black and white, and it's not as life or death or dire as we think every decision is. And so we can often put this pressure on like every decision needs to be the perfectly right decision. And if we go this way, then that means we're stuck in that way. But that leads me to the first shift that I want to offer you. Right now, let's get into the shifts. And I'm going to also offer you some specific questions and powerful tools at the end that you can use to really learn how to prioritize what you need in this season and to truly spend your time and energy on those things that you value the most. So the first shift I want to offer you is just because you're not prioritizing this thing right now doesn't mean that it isn't going to be a part of your life, and doesn't mean that you can't prioritize that thing or incorporate that thing later in your life. So let me explain what I mean here. So when I moved to Austin, coming up on a year ago, which is crazy, I really wanted to establish a community here and a routine and build a life here. But at the same time, I'm in this chapter of life where I also really want to be traveling and seeing the world and having these new experiences, especially because I can bring the podcast and my work and coaching anywhere I am now, right? I'm not tied to an office and a 9 to 5 anymore. So I'm like, I want to be traveling. But at the same time, I really wanted to be building community and connection and a home here in Austin. And that means being present in Austin. So I had to get honest with myself and ask myself like, okay, what do I need to be prioritizing here in this chapter right now? And in this current chapter, I just moved to Austin, and I decided that what I needed to prioritize over travel right now is building a life here for myself, because that isn't going to come from just going to all these different countries and not being present here to establish relationships and community and connection. But what that doesn't mean is that I just forego travel entirely. What that doesn't mean is that I can't prioritize travel later on, right? That decision isn't locked in stone. What I did in that moment was just prioritize what I need in this current season and chapter. Because down the line, when I am more settled in Austin and have an existing community here, I 100% see myself leaning into travel more. And even this year, like, yes, I've been prioritizing being present in Austin, but it doesn't mean I don't go on small trips here and there, right? Like I shared in a previous episode, I just spent a week in New York City. I'm going to Thailand in a couple weeks just for a short time, right? Nothing crazy, not like months on end away, but I'm incorporating something I value while prioritizing building a life here in Austin. And so a really powerful question to ask ourselves is, what's most important in this season and in this chapter that I am in? And this is where understanding our priorities is really important and really comes into play, right? Because if we don't know what we value and what we want to prioritize in this season and what we might need to prioritize in this season, then we can't know how to spend our time and energy. And that's what leaves us feeling like we're being pulled in a million different directions. And so before I share a couple more powerful personal examples with you, let's talk about how to get clear on your values and priorities. So the biggest way is to spend time in solitude. Right? We can't know what we want and what we really need in this season if we don't slow down and spend time on our own to really check in with ourselves. If we don't take this time to really check in and spend this time in solitude to get to know ourselves, what's happening is then we're so much more susceptible to just the external noise and what other people are doing or what other people are telling us that we should be doing, instead of trusting what we really need. So what's arising when you spend that time in solitude? Right? Like what desires and nudges or callings are coming up for you? Maybe you're exhausted and burnt out and just craving more rest and slow down. Maybe you're kind of feeling like you're stuck in that autopilot and like craving more excitement and nuance and change in your life. So maybe this is your invitation to prioritize new experiences, maybe some travel, maybe some new connections. And again, what this doesn't mean is that by prioritizing something right now, that means that you can't prioritize other things later on. Again, we only have so much time and energy and capacity, and we need to focus on what we need the most in this season. And so one really helpful strategy and tool to incorporate is what's called a forced values exercise. This is something that I learned in coaching training a while back, but essentially you write down all the things that you value most in this chapter in your life. And looking at this list, you can go down one by one and ask yourself, right? You take the first two and you're like, okay, if it's this or this, which do I prioritize in this moment and in this season? If one had to go, which one stays? And this doesn't mean that the other one totally goes, but what that helps you recognize is which is a little bit more important to you. So for me, maybe 2 would be like creating for the podcast or writing in my blog. If I compared those and asked myself what I value more and what is most important to me in this season, maybe what fills my cup a little bit more, it's creating for the podcast. And what that allows me to recognize is like, okay, I'm going to prioritize my time and energy in creating for the podcast. And if I have the time and energy to lean into writing for the blog here and there, then I will. But right now in this season, one thing I have realized is I don't have the energy and capacity to do it all right now, especially with travel and all the excitement that a lot of us have going on in summer. I've pumped the brakes on the blog a little bit because I realized I want to continue to prioritize my consistency in creating and flow with Fulfilled in the podcast. And to make space for that, I've taken a couple steps away from the blog, but just for the time being. This doesn't mean that I can't just pick writing for the blog back up in the fall when I have more time and capacity. But right now it's something that I'm kind of pumping the brakes on and just pressing pause on a little bit. But another powerful shift I want to offer you is pausing and pumping the brakes on something doesn't mean it's a loss. It means you're creating space for the things that you do really want to be prioritizing. So in taking a little bit of a pause on the blog, I'm just creating space for Fulfilled and for this travel and these new experiences and relationships that I want to be leaning into and pouring into a little bit more. And so this exercise can be powerful because, okay, you have all your values here, knowing the things that you value and want to be prioritizing, and going down the list, ask yourself, what's most important to me and in what order, right? And that can just help give you an idea as to the things that are most important to you in this season right now. And maybe you do it in every season, right? If you ask me, like with every season and every chapter, this changes. So in the winter, for example, I always tend to hibernate more. Like I'm far less social. I spend far more time in solitude, and I kind of put my head down and do a lot of reflection and creating for Fulfilled. And I really just hibernate in a lot of ways. Whereas in the summer, it's totally flip-flopped, right? Like I don't spend nearly as much time in solitude as I do in the winter, at least. I'm leaning into a lot more travel and experiences and connections. And so the order of my values in the winter and summer might look a little bit different. I still value all of these things in life, right? Travel and Fulfilled and coaching and connections and community here, solitude. But in each season, the amount I prioritize each one tends to shift. And in each season, leaning into this intentionality of what we prioritize can help us create space for living a life that we really value and for honoring our priorities and values in that season. And another shift I want to offer you here is when you get clear on your priorities, right? When you decide the things that you want to value most in this season and in this chapter for you, commit fully to that. I did an episode on that a couple weeks back. If you haven't listened, then maybe that would be a powerful episode for you to listen to next. I can link that below. But what this means is when we decide, when we understand what we want to be prioritizing, commit to that, right? Instead of allowing in all the opinions of others and the external noise telling us like, oh, but you could be doing this. And, this is what I'm doing and posting on social media. And it makes us think that there's all these other things we could be doing or should be doing. But the only thing that matters is what you value and what you want to be prioritizing in this season. And only you can know that. So when you get clear on that, right, using this episode and these tools to do so, commit to that and continue to commit to that, because our priorities and how we choose to live our lives has nothing to do with how anyone else is and will look different than how everyone else is. And the more that we allow in that external noise and allow other people to try to pull us in a million different directions, it takes us away from living a life based on our priorities and values. And so when you get clear on your truth, give yourself permission to continue to trust that and commit to that. And again, theme of this episode, right? That truth will change as your life changes, as the seasons change. This can be a continual check-in and a continual practice to understand what matters most for you right now. And there's one final exercise here that I want to offer you. And just a quick aside, if this message is resonating with you, if you're realizing that you're always being pulled in all these different directions and feeling like you don't know how to prioritize your time, or maybe how you're currently living your life and spending your time is feeling like it's not truly yours. Maybe you're feeling called to truly take your life back, to get clarity on how you truly want to be spending your time and energy, but not only get clarity on it, make it your reality. In one-on-one life coaching, I help you create a life that is truly yours, that feels aligned, fulfilling, and exciting to you. Because there is a life where you truly are in flow, where you truly decide and take back your freedom and power in life, where you no longer let all the shoulds and external noise and opinions from others determine how you live. There is a more fulfilling and empowered version of you living a life that you love waiting for you. And it's not somewhere in the future. They're already within you. Our work together is really just about uncovering the blocks and beliefs that are preventing you from stepping into them. So if any of that resonates, and if you feel called to learn more about this work, check out the link in the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching with me. And you can book a one-on-one free clarity call where we give you clarity right on that call and reveal these blocks and beliefs getting in the way, but also allows you to see if this work is an aligned and exciting fit for you. So if your intuition is calling you towards that, check out the link in the show notes and let's get back to the episode. So what we've done, right, is, okay, we've gotten clear on what it is that we value and what we want to be prioritizing. Maybe there's things that's come to mind throughout this episode, and maybe you're going to make a formal list after this. I don't know. But there's another component here. It's not just about getting clear on what you want to prioritize. It's, again, also creating space for that. And a helpful way to create space for that is to do a time audit. And I actually have included how to do this time audit in a free resource linked in the show notes below in the Limiting Belief Guide. You can find the breakdown of the time audit in that. But essentially what this is it's getting really clear on how you spend your days and your weeks, right? How you spend each hour. Getting honest with yourself, like, okay, what are the time fillers that maybe I'm telling myself I should be doing, but don't really value and prioritize? Or maybe what are the time wasters, right? Like, what are the things that are truly just like a total waste of time and are not aligned with my priorities and values at all? And when we get clear on what we're doing that isn't aligned with our values and priorities, we can start to shed those things to create space for how we really want to be honoring and valuing our time. Because we can have clarity on our values and priorities all we want, but we also need to take steps to actually incorporate it in our life and create the time to put energy into those things. I always am just asking myself these questions, right? Like, what is a way that I'm spending my time that isn't really aligned with what I want to be valuing and prioritizing right now? What maybe isn't honoring my desire and ambition to create a life that feels truly fulfilling and balanced and aligned? So for me, social media was a big drain. It's something that I cut out of my life for about 5 months now, and has quite honestly created space in such an amazing way. And that was a hard step, right? Because I spent a lot of time on social media previously, and it was a big way that I got fulfilled out there. But I realized it wasn't aligned with my values, and it was actually an energy drain. And in creating space away from that, it's created space for things that are so much more aligned, right? Like now in the morning, I actually spend a whole hour reading spirituality books and journaling instead of posting my reel, let's say. And it just feels so much more intentional and aligned with the life that I want to be creating for myself. But it was also because I released that should of like, oh, I should be on there and I need to be on there. Or another one for a while, especially earlier in my 20s, was like going out to bars late at night on weekends just because my friends were doing that. I realized it wasn't aligned with me. It wasn't what I wanted to be prioritizing or valued spending my time doing, right? The kind of connection I value is one-on-one connection, and I value getting a good night's sleep because especially in that season when I was creating fulfilled on top of my 9 to 5, I valued waking up early on weekends and working on the podcast and creating for it. It was something that I needed to prioritize. And so therefore, what I created space from and sacrificed in that season more was going out as a regular 20-something would do. But it took me tuning out that external noise and the shoulds of what everyone else was doing and getting clear on what I really valued and prioritized. And so to wrap up here, I want to leave you with these few questions. What's most important to you in this current season, in this current chapter? What are the things that you value most that you truly want to prioritize spending your time on? And what are the things that maybe you're spending time on that you don't value? that maybe you've incorporated because of shoulds, or maybe you haven't really questioned and are just there? And how can you really start to create space to honor your values and priorities, to truly spend your time and energy in a way that's in alignment with your values and priorities? Because our lives are short and our energy and time is so precious, and we can decide how we choose to spend it. If this message resonated with you today, don't forget to press follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching to never miss an episode every single Monday or Thursday, and leave a rating or a comment wherever you are listening or watching, and maybe send this to someone in your life who might really need to hear this message. And before I leave you today, I have a very exciting announcement. I'll be hosting my very first retreat in Santa Teresa in Costa Rica at the end of January. This retreat will be in the Blue Zone in a rainforest at a beautiful retreat center called Recenter, right down the road from the beach as well. We'll be leaning into daily yoga practice, meditation, coaching workshops, and connecting with 12 other beautiful like-minded individuals. But most importantly, this is your time to step away from the busyness and truly reconnect with yourself and uncover clarity and confidence that you might be looking for, while soaking up the beautiful beach and rainforest that Costa Rica has to offer. So if that interests or excites you, check out the link in the show notes below. Registration is open now. There are only 12 spots, and I would absolutely love to have you there. And I'll see you all again soon on your journeys to living this life fully.